Argentinian anthropologist, and I'm a fifth-year graduate student in the Romance Languages and Literatures department at the University of Michigan, of course. My research develops in the colonial studies field, particularly from an anthrohistory perspective. I am very interested in the production of a space called the Chaco region. This is a region that is known to have been one of the strongest focuses of indigenous resistance, and it was traditionally inhabited by hunter-gatherer groups. I chose to apply to the University of Michigan because I knew some of the faculty members that were and still are doing research on colonial studies, and I admire them so much, also in the history and anthropology department. And I chose the Romance Languages and Literatures program particularly because it offered me the opportunity to take courses all across departments, which was a very healthy experience, I would say, for my graduate career, or it has been so far. It seemed like a place where I could get better at what I already knew and really broaden the spectrum of what I could possibly incorporate in my future research. Well, this is a big one. Um, I believe there is one aspect of studying the Chaco region that at first I thought it would be a disadvantage for me, and it ended up being a positive thing along the way. Um, Particularly during the first couple of semesters, taking all these different classes across departments at U of M, I often needed to define my object of study in front of people that were probably not familiar with it, not the place, not the region, not the people, and sometimes not even the historical time that I was talking about. So that really made me challenge my own perceptions, my local perceptions as an Argentinian, and it made me take some distance from my object of study. And it sharpened my criteria to define it and make it not only narratable but relatable to people that were not familiar with it. So that was a thing that ended up being really positive. And I couldn't go without saying that one of the advantages of taking this object of study to a US institution is the many, many resources that such a huge research facility has. And I could draw the line at in-house resources for our libraries and the Clemens Library, but I could also say that there are a lot of resources for those of us studying the Southern Corn and trying to go out and find different archives that have really valuable evidence for our research. I guess I'm lucky enough that the COVID-19 outbreak only affected my travel itinerary and my studies in a way, considering how awful it has been and still is for so many people. At the time of the outbreak, let's say, I was in Ann Arbor teaching, and I was stranded for over a month because Argentina had closed their borders, so not even citizens could get back easily. And so I had to wait for a long time for a repatriation flight, which was awful. And I had to dismantle my home and rush back home. I didn't had the ability of taking all my stuff with me, so I had to relocate it, and I didn't own a car, so everything was really, really difficult, and it was unexpected and unplanified, and that really generated a lot of stress. Maybe I wasn't aware of it at the time, but by the time I got back to Argentina, I realized that I couldn't really focus in anything. Not my project, not reading, not really anything that had to do with thinking. So it took me some time to get back to it. I would say a couple of months. I would say that my mental health got affected, as probably happened with a lot of people. Undergrad students, us graduate students, faculty, we have all been through a lot. And eventually I got back to my project, but it was certainly a shake to everyone's everyday life. And that has to do with the way we planify and the way we conduct our research every single day, which might be reading a book or an article or writing up some notes, whatever. Everything got upside down. And then one more thing that I would probably like to say right now is that at the time, international students, we are all facing huge difficulties to renew our visas, and that is something that should be immediate and it shouldn't have any delay. And it's not happening. So there are many of us out there that still don't know how are we going to get back to Ann Arbor if we must for the fall. And that brings a lot of uncertainty. And again, that sort of thing is what gets in the way of you and your work. I guess this situation taught me a thing or two about patience, and more importantly, I believe to separate yourself from the work you do. Um, Particularly if you have seen your work suffer, your productivity suffer from this situation. That doesn't mean that you are, less of a person or a worse person that you were, or a worse scholar that you were the year before. Um, Patience to take some time off, to trust that you're going to be able to get back at it, and that it's really no use if your mental health is not in the right place to try to force work productivity. And I was lucky enough to have people that supported me in that time, including my advisor and different people from the department. I never felt pressure to deliver anything that I wasn't comfortable doing. And at the same time, I think that even in a time that tended to tear us apart, um, I still was able to find and to strengthen connections with my peers in my department, my friends, my colleagues, and the people that it doesn't matter how far they are, they're really just right there, having your back. So that was a good thing to reassure.